Stop slamming the door in your own face. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. And today, we're talking to stop slamming the door in your own face. That's what we do, actually, when we allow our self-doubts and stress to sabotage our efforts to make a good impression when we go to get a new job, or we try to close a sale, or even to get a date, or to complete a creative project. Our doubts can stop us slamming a door in our face. Now, according to news media, we're nearing the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. So now is the time for us to leave isolation of our quarantine and step out into the world to resume our lives. Trouble is, in the act of stepping out, we must confront something that we didn't have to deal with while we were hiding in isolation, and that's negative self-talk. Most of us are plagued by the self-talk that runs continuously in our heads, and most of that self-talk is negative. Statements like, let's see here, I'm never going to get this job. I'm so stupid. I never win anythings. Don't blow it again like you always do. Sometimes I feel like a loser. Every time I get close to something good, I mess it up. I'm having another panic attack. What a dumb thing for me to say. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I don't have the right education for this. This isn't gonna work. Basically, that's fear talking to you. Fear. Your mind is working against you to hold you back. That's fear talking to you. Your mind is grabbing hold of the comfort zone that you're in order to hold you back, to keep you from moving forward. Now, some of us believe that that's really your ego trying to keep you from leaving your comfort zone. And as long as you stay in your comfort zone, you don't have to challenge yourself. You don't have to put in the effort to make something work. You don't have to put yourself at risk. You can be confident in thinking to yourself, I could do that if I really tried. You know, it hits us all, this self-sabotage, this feeling that we're imposters. We're not all we're cracked up to be. You know, Viola Davis, the powerful, successful actress who had her own TV series, who has won Emmy Awards, who's been nominated for Oscars, who is praised throughout the industry. But she said every time she took on a new job, she was afraid that they would discover that she wasn't as good as they thought she was. She couldn't live up to the hype. She was slamming the door in her own face. It wasn't until she had been through some iterations of the first shoot, the first day of shooting, that she began to be confident of her own abilities coming back to her. We can't be killers of our own confidence. We can't sit back and say, I could do that if I really wanted to, but hey, I don't really want to. I could do that if I really tried, but then you never really try. And as long as you don't try, then you never risk failing. So you become very good at finding excuses as to why you really didn't try. You can blame it on some setback, you know, like, I tried it, but it didn't work. Or the dog ate my homework. Or I caught a cold and I had to stay in bed, so I missed it. Or maybe you can blame it on somebody else who might have let you down. Like, he said he was going to help me, but he got too busy. Or My ride got there late, so I missed my appointment. Hey, the world is full of excuses to satisfy your need not to try. But you know what? Every one of those excuses can be overcome if you really want to. If you want to. The first step is that you got to want to. And then after you've accepted that you want to do it, that you want to make it, then you got to admit to yourself who and what you really are. You are the Son of God. Yes, you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. You are born to be successful, but you have to step up to claim it. Please, click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you can choose to befriend me and follow me on Facebook. Remember, I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, suggestions, life experiences. So you can add those on the right side of the screen in the chat box. In YouTube, the chat box is on the right, and in Facebook, depending on how large you've got the screen open, it's either on the right or below the video. But they're there, so please share with me your thoughts, comments, suggestions, questions. I look forward to seeing them. So, I was watching this weekend a documentary about the comedian and social activist named Dick Gregory. Now, Dick Gregory was a highly successful entertainer who broke a lot of barriers in his comic career. He was a shocker, but he was very, very funny, and he got rich. But then he got involved in the civil rights movement, and he totally sacrificed his career to engage in the fight for social justice. Now, one of the people who was in the documentary talking about Mr. Gregory described him as being like a turtle. He was hard on the outside to protect himself against the hostility he faced as an activist and the many times he was arrested and thrown in jail. But he was soft on the inside because he was filled with love and compassion for those who were less fortunate than himself. And he was willing to stick his neck out in order to move the struggle forward for social justice during that civil rights movement. Dick Gregory, the one and only, that was the name of it, the one and only Dick Gregory. Of course, if you stick your neck out, there's always the possibility that you're going to fail. And failure can defeat you if you let it. It can defeat you. It can knock you down, and you may not get up. I remember once I let failure defeat me. It defeated me, and I was down for years after that failure. What happened was, when I was in high school, I was on the high school swim team, Hyde Park High School. And for a while, as I was learning to race and get my form together, I lost every race I participated in. But I kept training, and the coach kept working with me. And eventually, I won a race. I really won a race. It was like, wow. There is nothing to describe the feeling of winning your first race. Wow, especially after working so hard to get there. Then I won many more races after that, and it got to be a habit. And finally, I was successful enough to get to qualify for the state regional competition. So I was moving up on the ladder. I was heading for the big time. So this was a new level of competition, and it was a brand new world of venues. See, when I was swimming against the other public high schools in Chicago during the 1950s, all of our pools, the length of our pools was 20 yards. So our races were 40 yards. That is, you swim down and back, 20 yards down, 20 yards back. But when we moved into the regionals, the competition took place in a college pool, and the college pool was 25 yards long. And at the higher levels, the race was not 40 yards, it was 50 yards. Now, I had never been in a pool that large, and I needed to practice a lot in that pool, but I didn't. I didn't because I got lost trying to find the location of the event. So I got there late, and I didn't have much time to warm up and practice in the new pool, in the new venue. So when my event came up, and I got on the starting block, I was totally intimidated by what I saw before me. I had never been in a pool that big. It was, wow, look at this. So, it was a race, so I had to deal with it. So when the gun went off, and I was in the water on my way down the lane, I was in front of the pack. I was actually winning the race. It was amazing. I was amazed, but I was winning the race. And then when I got to the end of the lane, my muscle memory switched on, and I flipped over and did my somersault in the water in order to turn around and make my way back. And when I kicked out to hit the wall, there was nothing there. There was nothing there. And I stood up and I looked, and I still had a ways to go. You see, my muscles kicked in, my muscle memory kicked in at the 20-yard mark, and we were in a 25-yard pool. So I still had 5 yards to go before I could hit the wall. So not only did I lose the race, I lost it in spectacular fashion, and worse than that, I lost it in front of an arena of white people. Oh my God. I was devastated, embarrassed. I was heartbroken. I hid my head under a towel, and I didn't talk to anybody. I just got dressed. I went home, and I cried for days. I cried over that failure for days. I cried over the embarrassment of that failure for days. I even quit swimming. I resigned from the swim team. And that day haunted me for a very long time after I graduated from high school. I mean, I labeled myself a loser internally, and I carried that label in my heart for years. They say that time heals all wounds. Well, that might very well be true. But part of the equation is the fact that life will not let you hide out forever. It just will not. So when I joined the Air Force after high school and no longer had time to hide out and lick my wounds, there were new challenges to face. There was many more things to do, many more things coming at me that had actually nothing to do with swimming. So eventually, after years of spiritual training, I learned to forgive myself. I learned to forgive myself for that embarrassing race. I learned to forgive myself for looking so stupid out there in the middle of this race in front of all those people. But in looking back, I realized that I simply was not adequately prepared for that particular challenge. So the mature thing to do would have been to go back into training and come back again the next year. And now that I knew what I was up against and what I had to face, by the time I came back the next year on my second try, I would have done much, much better. But unfortunately, I was an insecure teenager. So acting in a rational, mature way was not in the cards for me, not at the age of 15. So as I matured over the years and I've tried my hand at conquering new challenges, trying new things I have never tried before, entering into worlds I had never encountered before. Failure was always there. Failure became a constant companion, a faithful companion. But it no longer presented itself to me as a frightening demon. Instead, failure is now just a demanding teacher. Failure is now an accommodating stepping stone. You know, the author and poet Maya Angelou says, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it." So, how do you rise up from failure and move on? Well, the first thing you got to do is do not slam the door in your own face. Do not slam the door and give up. Stop slamming the door in your own face. The next thing you got to do is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. That's right. The first step after that is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself because there's always room for improvement, no matter how good you get. Forgive yourself because you still have a lot more to learn, otherwise you wouldn't have failed. Forgive yourself because failure is not permanent. Failure is as fleeting as the wind. Forgive yourself, and maybe next time you'll make it. Forgive yourself. Remember, babies fall many times before they can walk. They fall on their face many times before they finally can get up and stay up. So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. How do you do that? Well, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I'll give you some pointers. But in the meantime, let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us all together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this place of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we are beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain that we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. So thank you for watching, spending some time with me. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue this conversation and we talk more about getting over failure and moving forward, which involves forgiving yourself. So stop slamming that door in your face, in your own face, and move on to a higher level. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind.